The following is a local resident producer's program. The program content is the sole responsibility of the producer and does not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Oshkosh Media, the City of Oshkosh, or Time Warner Cable.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host, Cheryl Hentz, and we're going to be talking about emergency preparedness tonight, storm preparedness, that kind of thing. We're taping this on the 6th of June, and we've already had a few pretty good thunderstorms already this season, but the worst may be yet to come as summer rolls on. And so we're going to be talking about how you can prepare for not just severe thunderstorms, but disasters in case a tornado would hit or anything like that. So here to help us muddle through these waters here, we've got Linda Kollmann. She's been here a number of times in the past. Linda is our Emergency Management Director here in Winnebago County. And Nick Kluppert from the Red Cross is usually here. He's not here tonight, but he has sent his wonderful assistant. To my right is Becky Tiles, and you've got a very long title, so I'm going to read it. You are the volunteer partner with the Senior Disaster Program Manager, who is Nick, for Wisconsin Red Cross.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much to both of you for being here.
My pleasure.
We wish Nick well. He is helping with floods down.
He's basically in charge of Arkansas for the Red Cross.
Okay. Well, if he's going to be seeing this on YouTube at all while he's down there, keep up the good work, Nick, and thank you for doing what you're doing, and thank you for sending Becky to us tonight. So with that, we want to cover a whole lot of different things, and this is probably the busiest you will ever see this set. We've got a lot of things here tonight to show folks, and so let's just jump right in. And Becky, you want to talk to us about fire alarms, smoke alarms.
The Red Cross has done a huge push this spring to put in smoke alarms in people's homes, mobile homes, places that may not have them or they're not in working condition. We put in over 800 in the Fox Valley this spring.
Wow.
Our smoke alarms are free to the public. All they need to do is to go to www.getasmokealarm.org. There's some information to fill out, name, address, and that sort of thing. The Red Cross will come out and take out the old ones, put in the new ones for you, and also talk about fire safety, escape safety, and planning for emergencies.
Okay.
So
that brings me to one question right off the bat. It used to be you just needed one smoke detector on each floor of your home, including a basement. And now, when I had the fire department on several months ago, they talked about how you should have one outside of the bedrooms, and it's really in more places than just one on each floor. So if someone goes to this address, and I'm going to give it again, this website address, getasmokealarm.org, and they fill out the form, how many can they get?
they can get as many as is appropriate for their home.
Okay.
So a mobile home, we might put in two, one near the bedrooms and one in perhaps the living area, not in the kitchen per se, but close enough so that it would pick up smoke in that area. But a larger home, yes, upstairs, downstairs, as many as are needed. It's
Wow.
free.
That is fantastic, Becky. Who funds that?
Donations to the American Red Cross.
Wow, that is fantastic.
That's where your money goes.
And it's just a smoke alarm, right? It's not a smoke alarm and CO detector?
It is
or-
not a CO
Okay.
detector, but we also can do bed vibrators for people who have issues or can't hear smoke alarms
Okay.
going off. So, there are alternatives. There's no good reason why everybody shouldn't have smoke alarms.
Yes.
Because they save lives every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing that there are a number of homes right in this community that don't even have them.
We just did installation in one of the mobile home parks on the south side of town, and it was amazing.
It is a state law in Wisconsin. It's a state law that every residence, every apartment unit must have the appropriate number of smoke
Yes.
detectors, and CO detectors also is part of the state law too. That has changed in recent years, but this is just a wonderful thing. So
The fact that it's free, there really isn't an excuse.
Yeah.
And they do the installation for you.
yeah,
Which is just wonderful.
And the planning. It's more than just putting the smoke alarm in. It's planning. What's your escape route? Do you have a place to meet once you're out? How are you going to communicate? What is your plan?
yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about you did just kind of say what goes into the plan, but along with putting together a plan is practicing that plan, right? So that when there is truly an emergency, you're not just all sort of running amok. So,
You have about 2 minutes. If there's a fire in your home, you have about 2 minutes to escape.
okay.
So the planning needs to be done ahead of time. And it's a great conversation for the dinner table or for a family gathering. And people just kind of don't talk about it. It's not going to happen to us.
Yeah.
But it happens in apartments. It might happen in the neighbor's apartment. But that affects you too.
Absolutely.
And so it's more than single family homes. It's apartments, it's businesses, it's all over.
Well,
And
look what we
so-
had happen with Mabel Murphy's.
Yeah.
That was an apartment that the fire originated in an apartment, and it spread. Not only is the apartment no longer livable, but it wiped out a bar that had been here forever. So, and when we have a lot of older housing stock like we do in Oshkosh, that the wood can make things burn and spread that much faster. So it's very important
And
stuff.
what would have happened if that business had been full of people?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you look when you go into a building, do you know where alternate exits are? When you're driving a car, do you know where you'd go if somebody came right at you? Do you know where your clear lanes are? There's,
Yeah. I just want to tell a little story here. I have to give a shout out to the people at Marcus Cinema or Theater here in Oshkosh. Last summer, and this was a weird, kind of a freaky thing. We went to a movie. It had been storming all day long. I mean, severe, severe thunderstorms. So what do? We go out in the rain and go and go to a movie, right? But we're sitting there, and the movie was nearing the end, but it hadn't quite finished. And all of a sudden, the house lights in the theater came on. You could hear an alarm. There was an announcement made that there was a smoke situation in the building and to please move to the nearest exits. And I have to say, it wasn't sheer pandemonium like you would think, or like you see in some of these movies where everybody's rushing for the door. It was very orderly, very civil, and we all just moved to the front doors. Some of us could have gone out the side door, but we
Right.
didn't. There's why practicing is necessary, because we did what was natural or normal for
Right.
us.
Yeah.
And what if that's
we
blocked?
really could have gone to that nearest door. In any event, the staff, and in the summer, these were a lot of young kids. These kids, They held the doors open for people. They politely moved people on their way. It was, I don't know if they practice things like this, but if they don't, they certainly made it easy. It was
nice.
a really good situation. And what had happened was very simple. There was no fire, but all the rain had sort of made a motor burn out, I think they said.
Okay.
And the air conditioning had died, and it was creating some smoke. And so you don't think about stuff like that. But it was, you know, if you have to have an experience, it's better, I guess, to have a good experience like that. And they knew their stuff.
And I'm glad you talked about that, because Becky was telling me earlier that there's a new website, and it's called readyrating.org. Is that right?
Yes, readyrating.org.
rating.org. And if you're a small business or a business owner, you can enter your information in this. It's free again, and it tells you how ready your organization is or your business is. I took a look at it today, and I thought it was pretty cool. I think it would be really beneficial for our businesses and our organizations around here to take a look at it. It's free. See how ready you are.
Sure. Now, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Get a Smoke Alarm, and I'm readyrating.org.
Correct.
Now, is that a federal thing, or is that just for people in Wisconsin? Because this show goes out on YouTube, so
Red
people
Cross.
elsewhere might be
I believe
able
it's
to.
Red Cross, so it must be national.
Okay.
And it has checklists. And
Wow.
then once you do the checklist, it will give you solutions for things that you don't feel you're comfortable or prepared for. And it looks like it's a new program. It looks like it's going to be great.
You know, you guys, the county does great things too, but I don't think that people really realize everything that the Red Cross does.
No, they don't.
You know, you guys
We
are
do.
very underrated. You know, kudos to all of you, the volunteers and
Thank you.
staff, because you're not just a place that collects people's blood for, you know, disaster situations where blood transfusions are needed. And we're going to be showing a lot of the stuff that you do during the course of this program. But if I don't remember to say it later, just thank you for everything that you guys at the Red Cross do. Our home, when I was 17 years old, was hit by a tornado. And the Red Cross they were the first people there. Of course, they didn't want to let me down my street, but I said, I live down there in one of those houses that's been ripped apart.
Was that 1974?
It was.
Yeah.
April 21st.
First. April 21st.
Just a few minutes after 4 o'clock. Yeah. I mean,
I was here.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, we probably met and didn't even know it. So, putting together a plan, what do you recommend that people do?
Well, I think the whole communication, starting by talking, putting together a plan. There's so much training that we do for that plan. Get the smoke alarm. Have a floor plan, fire escape plan, so that you know you can draw right on here.
Can we get maybe a
Yeah, well,
close?
it's here. You can draw with marker right on here.
Okay.
You know, a picture,
Yeah.
a diagram of your house.
Yeah.
And
How do
what
they
the
get
escape-
one of those?
Through getasmokealarm.org.
Okay.
It comes with the program.
Okay.
And it comes with training.
Oh, my. Okay.
So, and then it talks about it. We have, if we can talk about the programs in the schools, we have our new Prepare with Pedro program.
Okay.
This is Pedro the penguin.
Okay.
He is darling. And it's a program for kindergartners through 2nd grade. And they talk about fire safety and smoke alarms and how to find mom and how to get out of the house, get out and stay out,
Yep. Yep.
and where to meet. And at the end, he's like, "Thank you, Mom." So it's
great.
so sweet.
That's wonderful.
And then for the older children in the schools, we have our pillowcase project.
Okay.
This is learn, practice, and share. And there is a pillowcase here that I created just for fun.
We'll see that when we get another wide shot, but right now this is the
Yeah.
pillowcase project.
Yeah.
And so
this-
that's for the older kids. Like, from what age would you say,
This
Becky?
would be 3rd through 5th graders.
Okay.
So it would be 8 through 10,
Okay.
11.
All right.
And This talks about all kinds of emergency situations: tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, all of those sorts of things, and talks about what would you take? What's your emergency kit look like?
So you made a pillowcase here.
So the pillowcase is what the kids get to design. And what would you put in your pillowcase to take with you? And my thought is that that pillowcase should be right there under your bed. So you could always grab that pillowcase. And what's in there that makes it important? Yeah, for them, for children, could be a toy. But and their cell phone and important things like that. But for adults, when they take this home and explain this to their parents and talk with their parents, then it's what should their parents put in their emergency disaster kit. And that's more where Linda, comes into play with her program and her things, and the food and the family papers and things like that. So it's a great program, and it goes right back to the family.
How often should people be practicing their escape route?
I would say that if you did it once a year, I think it depends on who you're dealing with. If it's an apartment, should an apartment, every 6 months, perhaps maybe there are rules. I don't know, but rules about having fire practices, and not only for fires, but for tornadoes and what would you do in a case of flood? Look at all the flooding that we have right now, and recently had in Wisconsin.
Yeah, down in the Madison area.
Madison, in even closer, and people don't know what to do.
Right.
And they aren't prepared for it.
Right. So. And sometimes, flooding, okay, that things are going to flood, but with a tornado, and a fire, you don't have notice. With a tornado, you may have some notice, but they can be very unpredictable. And so it's best to just know what you're going to do, where you're going to meet, and whatever else you need to do to move from point A to point B quickly and safely. So.
Yeah, so a lot of that is for fire things, but there's other emergencies too.
All right. And there's a couple other things that you were going to talk about, and I'd like to come back to those while we're on the subject of tornadoes and so forth. Linda, I think we should probably talk about weather radios and, the tornado outdoor sirens that we have in the county, and they have in other counties as well, but you're going to talk to ours, and weather apps for people's phones and so forth. So
there really isn't a reason you shouldn't be aware of what weather's coming in this day and age anymore.
Right.
There's so much technology, so many different avenues you can receive emergency information. The tornado sirens are for outdoor people who are in the park, people who are outside gardening or doing whatever. They are not intended for you to be heard in your home. If you live next door to one, you're going to hear it. But if you don't, you really need other options. And one of the ones that we promote is the NOAA Weather Radio. These run about $25 to $30. They're not expensive. The county sells them for $24.90 plus tax. That's at cost. We're not making a dime off of these.
But where do they get one, Linda?
The Winnebago County Sheriff's Office on Jackson Street, 4311 Jackson Street.
Okay.
Cash or check only, no charge cards. Otherwise, you can go to your local Fleet Farm or your big box retailers. They sell them as well. They are your smoke alarms for your home as well for weather. There's some really interesting videos out there, and one of them was in Wisconsin where the people were not by tornado sirens, and they had a NOAA weather radio up in their cabin up in northern Wisconsin, and a tornado went through, and the NOAA weather radio saved their life. And these will wake you up in the middle of the night. A tornado siren, if your windows are closed, your air conditioning's running, fans blowing, at least in our home it is. You're not going to hear it, especially if you're sleeping. That siren outside is not going to wake you up. These will wake you up. And they also,
Yes.
you can get those accessories as well that you were talking about under the mattress to shake the
shaker.
bed. You can get those accessories online, or and some of your electronic stores will also sell those. But we can't promote these enough. Again, your cell phones. If you are in a tornado area, if we're under a warning anywhere in the United States, and you have your alerts turned on your telephone, you will automatically get an alert wherever you are for a tornado warning. It's very similar to an Amber Alert. You'll get that Amber Alert no matter where you are. But there are so many other apps that you can download. The National Weather Service has one. Your TV stations, I've seen those also advertised when I watch some of the local news. You can download free weather apps that tell you if we're under any type of watch or warning. And that's important to know. We have so many large outdoor events here
We do.
in Oshkosh. And the best form of protection and safety is for yourself to be prepared. Check the weather before you go. If you're going to Country USA, Rock USA, or Waterfest or whatever, make sure that you have your phone with you. If you have family at home, let them text you and say, hey, there's a storm coming. You might want to think about leaving now. There's really no reason that you can't be prepared.
Right. Well, and the different weather apps, and there are a number of them. There's one that's just called Storm. There's the Weather Channel one, which it's kind of weird. Now it comes up, it says the Weather Channel, and then they do this little thing, and it says the Water Channel. So I don't know what's that is all about.
I don't know.
It's very strange, But there's all kinds of different weather apps that you can get. And you just have to be sure to go in and turn on the alerts for whatever you want to be alerted to.
Yep.
I like to be alerted if there's severe thunderstorm warnings, severe, storm warnings with respect to heavy snow, whatever. I mean, if there's lightning in the area.
You bet.
Last night I was at my Wednesday card game, and all of a sudden I got an alert on my phone, and no, we're under a severe thunderstorm warning, and it just popped up out of nowhere, So it's good to get these alerts and have them set so that you can get them.
Absolutely. The county also has an app. It is free. It is called Alert Sense. And if you go on the county website, www.co.winnebago.wi.us, and you click on emergency management, you will see an icon on our page that says get notified. So you can sign up for weather alerts using that. But what also is really neat about this, let's say we're in this location right here and a truck is going down the road and there's a chemical spill, and they want you to shelter in place right in this location. If you register your cell phone, and you have to register your cell phone, this system will call a cell phone within a certain area mapped out, or any hardline telephones that they can get the numbers off the World Wide Web. But now that 90%, I think, is pretty much on cell phones now, at least in our area, those hardline telephones are not as easy to get a hold of people because people don't use them anymore. So register.
I do.
Do you? Good for you.
Well, I have a landline, for two reasons. Number one, I use it for work quite a bit. But number two, my bill's going to go up a lot more if I get rid of the phone. So.
Oh, cable.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
So
I have that same cable
I
company.
may as well just keep it.
But but registering your cell phone is huge and important. We just used the system up in Menasha. We had a SWAT incident a couple of weeks ago, I think it was.
Yep.
And we were able to notify the neighbors, please stay in your homes, go in your basement if you can, until we send another message.
So that notification is available if we go to that website and go to get notified.
Yes, you click on Get Notified, it's going to take you to a website.
And there's where you register your cell phone.
That's where you register your cell phones. If you have a hardline telephone, it's automatically included. And they get those numbers from the web. We don't sell the numbers, the cell phone numbers. It's not a sold type of thing where we will sell your cell phone numbers. It is stored locally. And so we can draw a map of anywhere in Winnebago County, like we did in that neighborhood in Menasha. And we were able to do a circumference around the property property where we felt people should stay indoors and not leave. And we were able to get them emergency messages during that incident.
So Linda, how does that work? Because, okay, let's say, say we're here, okay, because we are here right now. So let's say something would happen, like a truck would have a chemical spill. How do they know that we're here and our cell phone, that we're not somewhere else? Does it go by address then? Do you have to put in your address?
Yes.
Or does it just, okay, so if I'm here, you're going to have my address of where my phone is registered with, right?
Correct. And there's another system we also have at the county, and it's called IPAWS, Integrated Public Alert and Warning System. This is nothing you sign up for. This is a federal program that our county is, we were certified so we can do it. We used it one time when we had a situation in the western part of the county where any cell phone that passes through that area, if it enters a cell phone tower that is covered in that area, we can get them an emergency message.
Okay.
And so if we had a serious chemical spill right here, or if there was an active shooter right here, we could tap into this iPause. And if your cell phone is bouncing off a tower in the circumference we choose, then you will get that emergency alert.
Okay, so there's a way that anybody, no matter where they are, is going to get notified of something like that.
Yes, but we really...
If they've got a cell phone.
Yeah, there's a restriction on when you can use iPause. So if you register your cell phone, we can do it locally under our own guidelines, but there are federal guidelines for the iPause network.
Okay. But the alert sense is where people register for their specific residence.
Correct.
Okay.
Would that work also for evacuations? If we had to clear an area out, would that notification come up?
You
that
bet.
this
We
area
would
is
probably
being-
use iPause for that. If we had an evacuation, then we could tap into iPause and notify everybody, and we would use Alert Sense to hit people with hardline telephones.
And would it tell them where to go?
There's a restriction on how many characters the message has, but we can refer them to a website or a telephone number to call for more information.
Sure. Okay, excellent. So we've got outdoor tornado sirens, and those, of course, are tested every single Saturday. And, you know, I know years ago, and this was before you took over as emergency management director, but probably about 17 years ago, 15 years ago, there were some problems with some of the sirens throughout the county. I don't know, there were only a couple in Oshkosh, but more toward the Neenah Menasha area, there were some problems with sirens not working properly.
There was, and it's a system, you know, that we rely on. It's mechanical, it's battery operated, but
And
we
things
have
happen.
things happen. That's why you should always have a backup
Yep.
for communication. But right now we're really lucky. Our sirens are in great shape. The county facilities and maintenance department actually does all our maintenance on them, and we're really lucky. We have some good electricians right now. We just purchased a new software a couple of years ago, and it's working out really well. Saying that, though, we had this last spring where one of the city trucks, the vacuums that clean out the storm sewers, they were in the city cleaning some of them out, and our 911 center started getting calls. Why is the tornado sirens going off in Oshkosh? And it had us kind of scampering, which one? And I went to our system and nothing was activated. But the sound of the vacuum of this city vehicle that was vacuuming out these drains sounded like a siren, so we had some confusion there. But yeah, that happened a couple years ago too. So
Interesting.
be sure to call 911 and we'll get it clarified for
We
you.
have to get quieter vacuums to suck out those
think
holes,
so.
right? Those sewers.
Yep.
I want to talk about insurance for a little bit here, because when you're talking about disasters, insurance goes hand in hand with that. And we're not just talking flood insurance here. I don't know that, you know, I guess if you live in a floodplain area, like right along the river or something like that, maybe you need insurance. But, you know, places like where Nick is, these are places that are susceptible to flooding, and you know, they may have to have flood insurance. So let's talk about flood insurance, let's talk about homeowners insurance, and if you've got a mortgage, you have to have homeowners insurance. But renter's insurance is not something that a lot of renters have. I know when I was renting to people, I always required them to have renter's insurance. It's just a smart thing to have.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about why these insurances. Let's start with renter's insurance, why it's important for people to have renter's insurance when they're renting.
I'll let you talk about that one.
Oh my goodness. Renter's insurance is fairly inexpensive.
It's dirt cheap.
Well,
It's about $100
you know,
for the year.
it is. It's about $12 to $15 a month, $100 a year. It is relatively inexpensive compared to just about anything you can buy. And you can buy different types of renter's insurance. It can cover $10,000 worth of property or $30,000 worth of property. That's up to what you get.
Yeah.
And talk with your insurance agent about. But the value of having that insurance, even when the fire's not in your own apartment, you lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have lost all of your clothing, all of your food, all of your medications, all of your documents, all of your electronics. And that means, you know, your shoes, your socks, your undies, your PJs. You've lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have renter's insurance, there is nothing to cover that.
Right. I think that far too often, kids who are renting, I say kids because this is a college town and you have a tremendous amount of students renting. But it's adult renters as well.
Yes.
Far too many people who rent do not understand that their landlord's insurance is not going to cover. It'll cover the building if something happens, but it's not going to replace all those personal items that you just talked about, Becky.
Plus
So-
the loss of living. Now, you know, it depends on the situation, but the rent insurance can also cover the cost of where you're living while you are not able to be in your apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's critical. And like you said, if you are a landlord and require insurance, people still don't have it. They still don't have it. I was going to get it. I said, get it tomorrow.
Yeah, I required it, and when they moved in, they had to show me the binder that
Yeah.
they had it. So
Yeah.
I just think it's smart.
And they don't need to, you know, the Red Cross has a list of agents to call. If you don't have your agent card with you when you're streaking out of the house at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I say what company, we can get the number to get an agent to them immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and sewer backup rider insurance is something
I'll
else.
let Linda handle that.
And, you know, the thing that immediately comes to my mind, and I think we've probably talked about this in other occasions when you've been here, Linda, is, you know, was that 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in 2008, we had a 500-year storm here. And most of this city had a lot of flooding.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people's homes, they had water backing up through their sewer in their basement. And so talk about the importance of having, you know, insurance to cover that.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that their homeowner's insurance didn't cover it. And it was quite a situation that many of our residents experienced. We had about 75% of our structures that were impacted in the June 2008 floods, from minor to totally destroyed homes. Flood insurance, you touched on that briefly earlier. That is if you live in a floodplain, and we do have some floodplains here in Oshkosh that you definitely you're required to have that. And it is a little more expensive when you are in a floodplain. But if you are not in a floodplain, it is not expensive to have flood insurance. And it's a peace of mind thing as well. Now, if you have sewer backup happening in your home and you have flood insurance, that won't cover it.
Right.
Your homeowners won't cover it. So you have to have a sewer backup rider, and those are fairly inexpensive as well. And I know a lot of people in June 2008 experienced a sewer backup here in the city of Oshkosh, and there were thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damages. For the minimal dollars it costs, maybe $40 a year, if that much, for sewer backup.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, it is well worth it for all your appliances in your basement, washer, dryer, water heater, furnace. And then again, a lot of people like to store things in their basements because Oshkosh, our homes do have basements, unlike they do down south.
Yeah.
So we tend to put a lot of things in our basements. There's many things you can do, put things up on bricks or up on shelving, but again, not everything can be, and that sewer backup is a definitely something you should consider having.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about CPR training, and then we can move on to how to put together some of these disaster kits that you've nicely brought in for us this evening to look at. And so let's talk about CPR, because the guidelines on that have changed on how you perform CPR.
The guidelines have changed. Actually, the CPR training has changed a little bit, but medically, it is still the full chest compressions and the breathing. But there's also the hands-only CPR, which, Joe Smith on the street could do in the case of an emergency. And that training is easy to get, it's easy to do, it's available. The full training, the Red Cross offers it for $30.
Wow.
You can get CPR and AED training, and you can get it for adults, for children. Most people that work in schools and those professions or work with children have that training.
Yeah.
But anybody can get that training. It's not expensive, it doesn't take very much time, and it really does save lives a lot.
Is that just CPR training, or is that CPR and first aid as well?
There is a CPR and first aid training.
How much is that one?
That one might be a little more, like 40.
Okay.
It's not a great deal more. It's a longer class.
Okay. But just the CPR alone is 30. The other one that includes first aid, 40,
Yeah.
thereabouts.
Yeah, I
and
could
then years ago, I took a pet first aid training through the Red Cross.
Oh, really?
I did. And somewhere at home, I still have my little card. Do you guys still offer that? Or
I
no?
don't know.
Okay. I finally found a question that stumped you guys.
Well, I'm interested because I just got a dog for the first time in 20 years.
Oh, great.
So I'm
Good
interested.
for you.
Well,
Good for you.
Honestly, I think they do it for infants and children, and I think if you're paying attention to the differences in how you handle an adult and how you handle a child, and if you had to apply it in an emergency to a pet, you could probably do it.
Sure.
2 little fingers.
Yep. And there are also, I will just say this, there are apps out there, which when I took it through the Red Cross, cell phones were, at that time I think I had a bag phone still, So that tells you how far back that goes. But that's probably about 20 some years ago. But there are apps out there now, and the American Red Cross is one that has it. And I think that they do offer a section on pet first aid and CPR as part of their app.
They probably do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
You have a kit, don't you, for pets?
I
down
have
here?
a pet kit that's an emergency type pet kit. It kind of gets off of the CPR a little bit.
yeah,
But
yeah. Well, why don't we move into a family emergency plan? We did talk about that, but part of that is building a disaster supply kit. So what kinds of things, I know you can't go too far because you're mic'd up here, but we can kind of show what we have.
I don't know if you can get the camera down here, but we did put some items on the floor for a family disaster kit. Just get a bin like this. Pets, pills, purses, these are things you always want to consider when you're putting together your supply kit. Copy of your prescriptions if you can. As you can see, maybe some wipes, a first aid kit, some canned foods, paper towel.
A can opener.
Can opener, yep. A cell phone, a charger or battery backup, another battery. This is kind of a joke, but not really. Non-perishable foods. We believe that Twinkies have so many preservatives are going to last for 20 years. So this is something that would last forever.
There we go.
Some plastic cutlery, matches, bottled water, hand sanitizer. These are things, if you're stuck in your home for a while and can't leave and you don't have power, these are all things that definitely would be useful if you have. And yes, a radio with batteries, whether it's a NOAA weather radio or a crank radio or anything like that as well would be very helpful. Flashlights, yes, batteries.
Things, this is from FEMA and is available to anybody who, I just went on the internet. This is a family emergency communication plan, and it has names, phone numbers, other ways to get a hold of people, and then it also has a place for your doctors, your medical insurance numbers, the kennel, the electric company, the fire and police department, all important numbers. If that were in a Ziploc baggie in there, you would have that information.
Absolutely.
So,
and copies of your prescriptions. That's a lot of times people forget that.
Oh gosh.
Food and water for at least 5 days
is
one of the things. And,
Yes.
That seems like a lot when you're starting to put stuff in there, but it might just have to be a lot of soup and, stuff like that.
Canned foods.
You're not going to,
And a can opener.
you're not going to make full-blown meals.
No.
When you don't have power or ways to cook. So those are little things that people need to kind of think about.
And we had that, I think it was 2001 or 1999 when we had the windstorm and the hailstorm, and there was power outages in Oshkosh.
2001.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
for 3 days, some of the people in parts of Oshkosh had no power.
I was one of them. I didn't have it for 5 days.
Yes, and people lost all their contents in their refrigerators and freezers,
Yep.
and so it's really a good idea to have a kit, a preparedness kit, and communications plan. Kids, they're at the playground, they're at friends' house. If you're without power and the cell phone towers are down, have that place you're going to meet, a pre-designated spot, or if another family in the neighborhood or not too far where you can go to their house and have that all pre-planned. So if a mom and dad are looking for their kids, they know where their options are to go look for them first.
Sure. And, one of the other things that people should probably be thinking about as they're putting together one of these disaster supply kits is if you've got a family member who is, maybe they've got food allergies or maybe they are on a specific kind of diet, if they're diabetic or whatever, make certain that you have those kinds of foods in there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then along with that, you consider the age of the people that you're dealing with, whether it's children or seniors, who might need other things, and the pets, which, now this pet supply box that we have,
Yes.
this is a pet safety thing, that is something the Red Cross would give out at the scene of a fire.
What's in there?
There's some food.
Okay.
There is a water dish, leash, and the box itself, like for a small dog or a cat, acts as a kennel.
Sure.
And
Very cute.
yeah, and there's a group of volunteers in Green Bay, and I should know who it is because it's a wonderful group of people. They put the kits together for us.
That's nice.
And that's something you can do for your disaster kit too, is to have those things.
Yes, if you
Available.
have a dog or a cat, make sure you're including food in your kits for them as well.
Yes, and their prescriptions if they have any.
Absolutely.
We've talked about this. We kind of laughed about it a little bit. I'm kind of a preparedness freak, and so
I love that.
we have, we've got a bi-level, and so there's that lower level. It's not a true basement, but I keep leashes right there on the way down the steps so that if there's something serious going down, I just have the dogs run down the stairs with me, but I can grab their leashes because you can't be holding on to dogs by their collars and doing other things.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you, and for people who have multiple dogs like we do in our household, you can get like a dual leash and you can wrap it around your waist and just have them tethered to you, and that way you're free to do other things. But we've got food bowls there and water bowls, and everything is there in case we need to just go in a hurry and get down there.
That's part of the planning. That's part of the knowing where your safe spot is if you need to get there, whether it's a tornado that's coming, a shelter-in-place situation, and you have a place that's kind of ready. My mother had an interior closet linen closet. She was 90 years old, and she had a little old chair in there, and she had her radio and a flashlight and her scotch, and she would sit in that with that door closed until it was safe. But she had her little spot, and it was always ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people need to do when they plan,
Yes.
is to have that interior room, that safe spot ready.
Right. And, I went to the Humane Society's website to pull off some things here, and we've got that. I think that they've been probably putting that up on the screen, but for more information stuff, we've got, of course, hsus.org, and we've got the redcross.org as well.
Mm-hmm.
There they are. They're on the screen now. But at hsus.org, that's Humane Society of the United States, and you can enter in their search bar that you're looking for a disaster plan, bit of information, and they will tell you everything. And I'll just go through a couple things here. You should put your cell phone number on your dog's ID tag or your cat's ID tag. You should make sure that your pets are wearing collars with those tags on. Remember that if it's not safe for you, it's not safe for your pets. Take your pet with you when disaster strikes. And,
Yes.
a lot of times you may not be able to take a pet to a shelter unless it's in a crate, which is really nice about that thing that you guys give out, because that's a crate and the supplies are already in there, so that's a good thing. But, if you are in a situation where you can't take your pet to a shelter of some kind of plan ahead, and this is where it is important to plan ahead. And it's hard because you don't know where you're going to have to go, how far you're going to have to evacuate to. But have in mind some places, some hotels or motels that are pet friendly. And of course, remember to take a credit card so that so that you can pay for your room. But so that's important. They recommend that. And of course, litter for if you've got a cat, a litter box and litter, a scoop, garbage bags, sturdy leashes, harnesses, and carriers, and current photos of you with your pets and a description of your pets. You and I will talk since you've now got a dog.
Yeah,
We're going
that's
to talk
great
about
stuff
all this
right
stuff.
there.
But if the Red Cross sets up a shelter, most of our shelters, we don't allow pets in.
Okay.
There have been exceptions and that sort of thing. But the Red Cross, along with the emergency man, we have partners. We partner in the community, and we have the Humane Society, we would call them. And no matter where it is,
Yep.
they would come in and help. We've had them bring in trucks so that animals can be sheltered right next door to the Red Cross shelter, and people can visit their pets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful, the partners that we have available in our community.
Yeah, there really is no reason that I can think of. There might be a reason that I'm not thinking of, but people should be taking their pets when they have to evacuate.
If they have time,
Yep.
get
There-
out, stay out.
Yep. There are even at HSUS's website, there are even things on, places where you can take if you have horses, places where you can take your horses to and to
Wow.
protect them. Don't talk to me about horses, though. I don't know them. And you don't have a horse, so.
And I don't either.
But, even livestock, if you're living on a farm, you do want to protect them. And so hsus.org it has a wealth of information for helping pets in disaster situations and to better prepare for that.
That's wonderful.
We've got about 10 minutes left, and I'm trying to think what we have not covered here. A first aid kit. Let's talk about first aid kits, because that sometimes in disasters people get hurt. You guys, I know, sell first aid kits,
We do.
and you sell pet first aid kits too, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So how much do your first aid kits go for?
I don't know what they cost, but you can go to, online, and you can buy
redcross.org?
Red Cross first aid kits and that sort of thing. The thing is that they need to be looked at occasionally.
Yes.
Don't buy a first aid kit today and never look at it again, because the Band-Aids go bad, the antiseptics go bad. The things that are in there should be kind of kept up to date, just like you would keep the food up to date.
Sure.
In a disaster kit. But I think you can buy them pretty much anywhere. Big box stores have Red Cross first aid kits.
Sure. Well, and if you do use them, use something, replenish it. There's nothing more annoying and frustrating if you need it than to go to it thinking, oh, sure, I've got that in there. And then you go to it, oh, crap, I didn't, replace this after I used it the last time,
And personalize it. The Red Cross kit, any first aid kit, is fairly complete, but also generic. But if there are specific things that you need or want to put in your kit, then you need to think about that too. So
Also for your vehicle.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
one
One
in
in
each
your
of our
car.
cars, too.
And it should change from winter to summer. The I-41 incident that we had this last
yes.
winter, there were people in their vehicles for a few hours, and blankets, things like that to keep you warm. Mittens, gloves, extra sweatshirts, blankets. Those are things you want to consider for a winter kit. I mean, how many of those people might have just been traveling from Fond du Lac to Appleton thinking, oh, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
You just never know. And the same thing can happen this summer with all the traveling people do in the summer, driving. Get that summer kit going. Yeah, water is super important. Again, a charger for your phone. If you're in your car, hopefully you can charge it with your car charger. But those are things that you just want to be prepared for. Again, water, very important, especially in the summer.
Well, and this too, I was just talking to someone about this earlier this week. Can't remember how it came up, but a number of years ago, we were taking a cruise, and we try to cruise when it's not hurricane season. Trying to be smart about this, But a hurricane had come through a week or so. It was just a week, I think, before we were supposed to depart. And it didn't affect us. We didn't feel. So, and we were driving down to the port because we wanted to make a stop along the way. Well, it was very scary because the hurricane had wiped out a lot of the gas stations. Most of the other gas stations they couldn't get gas. And we came across gas station after gas station after gas station that was closed, and they did not have gas. And so I was getting a little concerned about this. And so I said, you know what? Every single time we see a gas station that's open, I don't care how long the line is, and I don't care how little gas we need, we're topping the gas tank off.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how far we're going to have to go before we find another gas station that has gas. It was a scary situation. So just trying to be prepared for things like that,
I think if you take that back even locally, for not always knowing what to expect, because if there has been a tornado and you come out of your little safe spot, things to worry about. What are the things to worry about? I mean, down power lines, gas leaks. Don't light a candle right away. You don't know what kind of things are in the air as a result of the dangers that are going on there. Yeah. Don't let your pets just run outside, or the children because you don't know exactly. If it's a chemical spill in your area and you were sheltering, would you go to the top floor or would you go to the basement?
Yeah.
You'd go to the top floor because chemicals tend to be heavy.
Good point. See, I don't know that a lot of people would know that.
And that, that's just one of those things, and smoke rises, so you want to get low,
Yeah, boy, all these little things that you kind of have to think about. It's interesting.
To keep
and
us safe.
Before we have to leave, these, I had that on my list because years ago, you had brought these, and I think every time you've come, you've brought them. And I'm glad to see that you are still at the county putting them out. Tell folks what that is.
And in paper yet. They're online.
And I want
We
one
do
too.
have them. Here you go.
Oh, right.
And here
Thank
you go.
Could I get a second one, please?
You can have them all.
Oh my gosh! All right,
Hand them out to everybody.
we're going to leave some here at the
Excellent.
studios.
Yes, this is a preparedness brochure. The local emergency planning committee put this together, and it's information on all different types of disasters and how to be prepared. Like you were saying, emergency telephone numbers. Terrorism is still a threat we face here,
It is.
and how to be
Yep.
prepared. See something, say something, and that's local. Internal, what they call homeland terrorism, and then there's obviously the terrorism that comes from out of country, but. You can be anywhere in the United States, and somebody within our own country is going to want to hurt people. So chemical emergencies, electrical emergencies, everything you could think of. These are online at the county website on emergency management's page, and there's some brochures right here by Cheryl.
Right, and I will leave these here at Oshkosh Media. So but there's not. There's maybe about 10 or 12 here. I'm sure my crew is going to be grabbing a few, so there might
You
be
need more, let me know.
But if they do run out here, where can they? If they don't want to go online,
Yep,
where-
Public Health, the county health department, downtown Oshkosh.
Okay.
They can stop at the sheriff's office and ask them to have emergency management. Bring down some brochures, and we'd be happy to share them.
Okay, and they're called Residential Guide to Emergency Preparedness.
Yep.
So.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very good. And it covers a lot. I mean, even heat safety and winter storms, siren activation guidelines. There's just a wealth of information here.
Absolutely.
What, in closing, we've got about two and a half minutes left. I feel like there's something that we haven't quite touched on, but I can't imagine what it is because we've pretty much covered. Oh, I know what I wanted to mention, since we do have a little bit of time here. I had wanted to get these folks on the show, and it just hasn't worked out, but I thought that this was really a neat thing that the students at Shapiro's STEM Academy here in town recently learned how to be prepared for disasters and emergencies as well. And part of that, you called it the STEP program.
Yep.
What does the STEP program
That
stand
comes
for?
from Wisconsin Emergency Management, as well as some of our major power companies in Wisconsin, puts together this curriculum for fifth graders. And it's open to every school in Wisconsin. It's a free curriculum. The kids end up leaving with a backpack with some preparedness items in there. Wow. But it, again, teaches kids about preparedness, and then they go home and talk to the parents about preparedness. So Jacob Shapiro was one of them, I believe, this year that did it.
Yes, yep.
And I think our office, my deputy was there during their last class, and it's a great opportunity, and it's free. It's available yearly, so the school fifth grade teachers, all they have to do is sign up for the program. We send an email out to them, and it's a great preparedness tool for kids.
Well, and the kids not only learned about emergencies, but they learned how to put together. They actually did, I think, put together emergency kits, or at least they knew how to put them together. And then they were also taught how to develop an emergency plan with their families.
Yes, and
So-
that's important. Mom and Dad are always so busy, but like you said, if you're at the dinner table and the kids can initiate the conversation with the parents, Mom, Dad, where do we go when this, and gets them talking, and that's what's the purpose of this class.
I think you find through these school programs, the students are more aware and bring it home to parents who have not thought about it.
And your idea, Becky, about talking about these things at the dinner table. I know it's hard to get the whole family together with kids with sports, and there's so many things tugging at our lives these days. But, you can find at least one meal where you can sit down and talk amongst yourselves as a family. So
Absolutely.
we're almost out
Right.
of time, but thank you guys for being here so
Well,
very,
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for inviting us.
Contact us here at Ion Oshkosh. The address, the email address is ionoshkosh@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the show that we did just now, we've also got these addresses that we've been putting up. So anyway, thanks, ladies, for being here.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. If you
Thank
want to
you.
volunteer with this program, there is the information right there on the screen to get you to help out on this show. It's a good experience. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to everyone, my guests, the crew, and to you doing the viewing and listening. We appreciate it very much. We will see you next time. Until then, take care. Keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.